Let's go ahead now and import a file to do some color correction. I'm going to go under Window and I'm going to choose the media browser because I would like to see it. And from here, let's choose the color correct clip. Remember, all we have to do is double click it. That opens it in the source panel. And now we can drag it down to the sequence. I'm going to go ahead and delete the bird on sign clip. And I'm going to add this one in here. Again, this adds it to the project panel. As you can see, is now added to the project panel. As you can see, this clip was not white balanced properly. In fact, it's extremely blue. We are going to correct it by using the Fast Color Corrector. The Fast Color Corrector performs primary color correction. Primary color correction is when we fix and or adjust all of the pixels in the image. Secondary color correction is when we only adjust some of the pixels and not others. We can choose which pixels we're going to adjust by luminance information or color information, by a mask, by anything, but the fact remains that we only adjust some of the pixels of the image and not all of them. The Fast Color Corrector is most definitely a primary color correction because it's going to adjust all of the pixels of the image by getting rid of this blue tint. When you're doing color correction, make sure that you do primary color correction first and then secondary. The Fast Color Corrector exists under the color correction. We can add any effects by just clicking on it and dragging it to the clip. With the clip selected, we can now go to the Effect Controls panel, and I can color correct this effect by clicking on the white triangle. And now I can fix it by simply looking at the color wheel and seeing, well, if the clip is too blue, I can drag this a little bit to the opposite of blue, which is on the yellow orangey side of things. And as you can see, it's much better already. We can see the before and after by just double clicking the clip right here. It opens in the source panel, and now we can see before, original, after corrected, and of course the reference monitor. And this one is telling us that we are within parameters on the Luma. And let's see on the vector scope, and yes, we're definitely under parameters for the vector scope as well. If you want to increase the intensity of the change a little bit more, you can play around with these numbers. Hue, angle, balance, magnitude, balance, gain. This is going to give you a little bit more of the change. This is a little too much, so I'm going to back it down to about 25% or so. You can also change things like the balance angle and, of course, the saturation. If you want to increase the saturation, notice how the pixels here in the vector scope become a little bit farther away from the center, and we might be running into the risk of being illegal, so I'm going to back this down a little bit, and there you go. You can also use things like black levels, gray levels, and white levels. This has to do with luminance. So basically we can click on the black level eyedropper, and now we click on the darkest part that we can see here on the screen. And that made it a little too dark, so let's go ahead and adjust the input levels here manually. And let's change the view of this to show us the YC waveform. And remember, the lowest we can be is 7.5 IRE. And let's change this a tad. And of course we can change the white as well on the input level. And notice how this is changing the output or display of the YC waveform. This is much better. Let's go back to the view of the vector scope. Maybe we can increase the saturation a little bit more. And as you can see, it's a lot better already. Maybe we can increase the balance gain a little bit to give it a little bit more warm display. Before, after, scopes, and effects. This is an essential layout for color correction.